My mind is made up.
Hey guys, this is Eric Kyle, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine.
And I'm David Levesque, editor of Latitudes and Attitudes, and welcome to Three Sheets, our podcast where we chill and chat with individuals making a difference in the cruising lifestyle.
Each episode, we'll dive into all things cruising related and bring you some of the most influential characters out there. So sit back, grab your favorite bottle, light them if you got them, and enjoy the adventure. Hey guys, Eric Kyle here, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine. Welcome to another episode of Three Sheets. I am joined today by David Levesque, editor of Latitudes and Attitudes. David, how goes it, my friend?
It goes incredibly well, my man. It goes incredibly well. We're in the middle of April. The birds are chirping. The sun is shining. Cruisers are on the water all over the world. We love it, man. It's a great time for a podcast.
What are we doing here today? We got lots of faces, brother. I mean, this is not something we normally do where we have this many guests all on at the same time. I feel a little outnumbered, but that's okay. I want to introduce Kennon with VIPCA, the Virgin Island Professional Charter Association. They were on the cover of the latest issue of Latitudes and Attitudes. Super excited to have them there. Also, Jay Pennington. Jay, you are with Waypoint Yacht Charters, been around the industry for a very, very long time. Your perspective is well needed today. And Hank Hampton, Paradise Yacht Management. Hank is the man. Anybody that's around charter businesses knows Hank. Hank is the man. So, Dave, what are we doing with all these guys? Are they about to gang up on us?
Well, I hope not. So the relationship with VIPCA started with the Vibe Show, which is coming up, actually. As of this recording, it's coming up in May.
What does VIBE stand for?
VIBE is Virgin Islands Boating Expo. Thank you, Kennon. So we have been supporting it in terms of putting advertisements out there and putting it through our newsletters to all of our cruisers. Anybody down there wants to come hang out at that show. We've been invited down there. We just haven't had the chance to do it yet. I had the chance to meet Kennon face to face in Miami at the recent show. And, I know the passion that exists for promoting U.S. Virgin Islands. It just so happens that the issue that just came out is our charter issue. So he and I got down to talking, and it's like, look, how can we further the USVI and use the VIPCA and really put a spotlight on what's going on down in that region with chartering? And man, they sponsored the cover, and we've got some fantastic articles from them. So it's a gift to be able to talk to these guys today. We've been trying to pin them down. They're all like moving targets.
Outstanding. Kennon, tell us just a little bit about what it is that you do at VIPCA and what you're hoping to promote.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again for having us, for David, for proposing the cover to us as turned into a great partnership, and looking forward to continuing it. Virgin Islands Professional Charter Association started in 2017, and the base of it is an industry advocacy organization for chartering in the U.S. Virgin Islands, the marine industry broadly. So our membership is comprised of professional crew members, of land-based supporters, marine businesses spanning anywhere from your bread and butter diesel shop, HVAC shop, to we've got rental car companies, doctor's offices. Anyone that really touches and supports the marine industry is welcome in amongst the membership, as well as our charter yacht brokers, which is focuses on the crude charter side. We have day charter operators, bareboat charter operators, really the whole gamut. And our mission is really to advocate for the industry, to work with the local government and putting policies in place that facilitate business, that makes business easier, that grows the industry. And then, underpinning all of that is just advocating for the U.S. Virgin Islands as a destination and a great cruising ground for both people coming on charter and passing through while cruising the Caribbean.
So what are you at, like 680 members now? I think you told me, right?
740, I think is the latest count. So continuing the upward trajectory.
Awesome. Good to hear that.
Jay, you're on the board of directors of the VIPCA. Tell me just a little bit about what they do for you at Waypoints.
So the VIPCA board has been involved with both government regulation, some projects, including some mooring grants that were given out to install some moorings locally, and an advocate for the entire industry. We also, part of VIPCA, provides health insurance. Obviously, you have to pay for it, but our members are eligible for a group health insurance policy that wouldn't otherwise be, available to yacht crews and small businesses. And generally, just like the cover of your magazine, promotes the entire industry for everybody involved, from the littlest mom and pop single boat operator all the way up to the big guys.
Outstanding. Now, Hank, maybe shed a little bit of light, since you are the man and we all know it. Shed a little bit of light of your experience with it and how it works with Paradise Yacht Management.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was actually one of the co-founders of VIPCA back in the early days, and wanted a nonprofit organization that can actually, talk on our behalf to the government. That was one of the biggest initiatives, so we can, bridge that gap in this charter industry. And then, also, I was down here running charters. I worked in the executive restaurant business actually for 20 years, cashed out, and moved down here in 2012, bought a boat. And, I was basically got my boating experience, a lot of it in San Diego on the West Coast, came out here, fell in love with it, bought a boat and started my own charter company, my own charter business on Feel the Magic. And, did man, I was doing like 20, 25 charters a year. And what I saw in it was the boats this class of boats kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I realized that they're going to have to be crewed. And so that's where kind of Paradise came from. And then the tie in with VIPCA. And one of the biggest, which Jay talked about, was the health insurance. Back in the old days, I quit the corporate world, and the health insurance that we had down here was just these major medical policies, and I don't even know if the things would have paid out if something happened. So, as a co-founder of VIPCA, that was one of my initiatives to really work on that health insurance part, and then I passed the baton on, and these guys really rocked it out. Man, VIPCA's been growing and growing every year, and I wouldn't be here without them.
So how did the Vibe Show come about? Where did that evolution happen?
Yeah, it came about is trying to explore potential opportunity in having a sales and charter, more boutique style show than your Annapolis or Miami or Newport, but in the Virgin Islands, in the setting where these boats would be operating in the first place. You go to any of the East Coast shows and buy a boat to put it in charter. And I mean, Waypoints is trademarked boating as a business, so that's really their bread and butter on that entire on the bareboat side. And then Hank has a massive operation on the crude yacht charter side. So it's a little bit, two sides of the same coin. But having a show down here shows you're meeting with all the people in their home habitat, for lack of a better word at the moment, and in the home environment where everything is going to be happening. So you can come see firsthand, this is where the boats are going to be. These are the people I'm working with. This is the support network. This is the infrastructure. And was really the genesis of it 2 years ago.
What's the climate like down there in terms of business activity in the USVI? Guests coming in, looking to charter. I mean, I want to touch on this because, people start thinking about charters, and they think about the BVI, for example, and they think about other types of regions around the world. I want to get into what the climate's like down there right now.
I'll let Hank or Jay go on that. They've got their fleets out there moving around.
So go ahead, Hank. I'll let you go first.
Jay, go ahead, brother. I'll tag team off you.
So this is going to come up eventually. We've had some challenges the last 18 months or so, 24 months, with some of the legislation changes and some of the fees that have been enacted by the BVIs, because historically our charter guests that leave from St. Thomas have split their trips between the U.S. Virgin Islands and the British Virgin Islands. And there's been some fundamental changes on the British side that have changed how that happens and what the fees and costs are involved. Having said that, it's still a great market. Our company is holding our own against historical sales numbers. We've had already started shifting some of our marketing. And to be fair, we operate as many boats in the BVI as we do in the USVI. We own two bases. But the USVI base, since we're talking about USVI, is holding its own against historical sales numbers despite the headwinds caused by some of these fee changes. And the reason for that is that we have the airlift, we have access. Most people in the eastern half of the United States can get to us either directly or with a single connection. We have beautiful cruising grounds. We have wide open spaces. You've got all of St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, and on the bareboat side, we even have access to Claiborne, Vieques, which is part of Puerto Rico to the west. And almost all of our boats are licensed to go to BVI. It just adds some time and fees to that process, and they put some limits on the number of days that our boats can stay. But we've managed to adapt what we sell and how we do it. And frankly, if you've ever spent any time around St. John, it's the nicest island in the chain, bar none, between the USVI and the BVI. It has a ton of things to see and do. And Claiborne and Vieques are magical. They're like the whole place was 20 years ago, with a little bit of Latin flair. But there's a lot of places to go in those two islands and the outlying cays that don't have the crowds and the concentration of population that we have in most of our other cruising grounds.
All right, Hank.
Yeah, and I'll expand on that a little bit. We do have a couple satellite offices over in the BVI area, but our total fleet is up to 72 boats, and they're all spread out. But we chose to keep our main base here in the USVI. We have gone through pain of dealing with these different compliance. It was a moving target for a while. I ended up hiring on just a full-time compliance person just to keep up with what the BVIs were doing, because I truly believe in the convenience of being able to fly into St. Thomas direct from Miami, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Charlotte, Southwest just added Orlando, Baltimore. There's direct flights from DC, Philadelphia, sometimes Chicago, sometimes Dallas. So what I talk to about, and I also own a company called Charter Smarter, which is a booking platform that books charters. So we're targeting people, and what we tell people is, get on that flight, and your toes are going to be in the water by 5 o'clock, and instead of going through all expensive flights, maybe in the BVI, water taxis, a layover in Puerto Rico, or the $100 round trip ferry ride that's no fun for everybody. We pick them up at the airport, we throw the baggage on the boat, and they're off and running. And it's such a cool experience here in the USVI, and then go into the BVI, and then like Jay was saying, finishing it up in St. John, because it's one of the best islands. You always want to finish a charter on the high note, and on the highest note, because I've seen so many beautiful things, and St. John's a great place to do it. And a lot of times we also will start it and hit Livongo for the first night, where the guests have dinner. And this way, hey, if there's a flight delay or luggage is missing, we still have the opportunity to make sure their vacation happens. So that's kind of how we feel about it. We absolutely love the USVI. Just back in the COVID days, the 2 years that the BVIs were completely shut down, and our airport was open we closed in March, we opened in June. We have a really cool governor that we reopened for commerce. We ended up doing 860 charters in those 2 years, just in the USVI cruising grounds alone. So it was really, really cool. And one thing about your guys' magazine that I really, really like, I mean, I sat there in my corporate life just reading your magazine and just dreaming of cruising and doing what I'm doing. A lot of the people, that have that dream will book these charters, and that's what gets them bit. That's the bug that really makes it rock. And that if you can make it smooth and make their experience happen, and then, I mean, these are our future cruisers that may be buying boats and being out there and enjoying the Caribbean.
You just basically described our business model. Thank you so much. I mean,
Perfect.
Let me just throw something out there real quick. I mean, Latitudes and Attitudes literally has tens of thousands of people who consume the content from the magazine, read it, look at it online, engage with our social platforms, newsletter, all that kind of fun stuff, because it does kind of represent the dream that others are out there engaging in. So whether you're a liveaboard sailor or trawler, whether you are just an aspiring person who wants to engage with this kind of lifestyle, or just a day sailor or a racer, somebody just loves to be out on the water. David and I's first charter 15 years ago, um, BVI, uh, epic, epic trip, 44 Lagoon out of Tortola, went and did the loop, and just an absolute addiction ever since then. My wife and I have probably been on about 10 or 15 charters, and we are day sailors. David, day sailor racer, now charter professional as well. Yeah, so we've followed that path, and we want to encourage other people. We know that the shortest way to get people from the beer can races, from the day sailing, to, or even aspiring to go sailing, to becoming a live aboard cruiser is through the charter experience. So Kennon, how is VIPCA trying to grow this market? Because there is an enormous difference between now and 15 years ago when I took a charter, in the number of companies and the number of boats, and you've been set back by hurricanes, by taxes, by reforms, all these kind of different things that have constantly put blocks up in front of you guys like Jay and Hank over here. But Kenan, how have you guys as an organization been able to continue to grow the interest in charters?
Yeah, it's just more of I mean, the internet helps, certainly. The more you can have content out there and someone says, wow, look, you can go do that. It's not, for better or for worse, for me being a former term charter crew, I know Below Deck sent a lot of people this way because they realized, oh, wait, it's not millions of dollars. You can go on a 56-foot catamaran for a week for $35,000, or on a 42-foot catamaran for 20-something thousand dollars, and that's fully crewed, full board, all of that. And I know, even if you look at picking up a bareboat from Waypoints, you plan your times right, you can come on the shoulder seasons. You can get out on the water, something that is a very attainable and very easy and reasonable way of doing it. And like you said, get that hook in. But no, just on a fundamental level, it's been just supporting operations like Waypoints and Paradise and the other operators, and trying to deliver more value to members. Even, I would pitch that even for the cruisers coming through, they can, it's $150 a year for a VIPCA membership, and they have the same access to discounts that we have locally at chandleries, at sales shops, at restaurants, all the things that are within and among the U.S. Virgin Islands. So, we'd love for cruisers to think of the USVI as, a base in the Caribbean where they can have access to relatively quick shipments in today's day and age, from South Florida, U.S. market, Amazon, all of those things. And of course, easy flights back and forth, but it's America's Caribbean paradise. It is the U.S., and it's right along the chain. And it's Charlotte Raleigh is probably the easiest and widest anchorage to sail into. If your engine happened to go out while you're cruising, you can just go take a beam reach straight on in and drop a hook in the back, and you're good to go.
I would also add that as a person who lived aboard on and off for almost 10 years between two different boats in St. Thomas, that it's one of the simplest places for U.S. citizens who want to cruise the Caribbean to home base out of. You can register your boat in the U.S. Virgin Islands just like you would in a state. You still have federal documentation, but you get a USVI registration. There is no sales use or title tax in the USVI to register your boat. So if that's your home base and that's your state registration, you can avoid some of those tax ramifications of being in some of the East Coast states. It's U.S. tax jurisdiction, U.S. legal jurisdiction. It's still relatively cruiser friendly. There are still places you can get moorings and live, and it's a great jumping off place from, anywhere in the Caribbean for a real cruiser. And you have multiple accesses to hurricane holes, either going south to Grenada or hauling out in BVI or Puerto Rico, or even in a monohull in St. Thomas. So it's still, it may not be the paradise of the 70s where there was absolutely no red tape in cruising, but it's probably as close as you can get in the modern world and still stay inside a U.S. jurisdiction.
Yeah, we also developed and this is going back on the cruisers. We developed Smart Marine Solutions. Now that's our maintenance company. We have 12 technicians I try to get train and get local help to work with us. We also have some scholarship things set up with a school called Iris up in Newport, where we're getting guys down here working on marine systems. And we've kind of started opening up our company to not only working on the boats that we have, but also assisting captains out there that they're out cruising and they can use some help. Just getting their boat back up to speed. We're a Victron dealer, so we can do Victron electronics. We got electrical guys here that can really assist. So I think that helps a lot, being one of the bigger maintenance companies between here and the BVI's for a lot of the people that read your magazine and maybe coming through this way.
Well, just to wrap my brain around it, so you're saying if I'm a typical cruiser and I'm going to go down in the Caribbean, that if I join VIPCA, that a lot of these benefits of membership will include the multiple things that you guys are talking about that usually only the professional people get to take advantage of. So can just a regular old cruiser who's on a 42 decide, hey, I want to go join this organization so I could get discounts at restaurants and dockage and repairs and all that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's it's really, it's a professional charter association, marine industry association, and we have, I mean, our membership, the membership is really just supporting the marine industry and our various programs throughout the year. It's a 501c6 association, so anyone associated with the industry is welcome. We're actually working on very hopefully shortly being able to expand insurance offerings as well to provide some very attractive things for cruisers as well. So stay tuned on that. Just waiting for a final few things to fall into place. Um, but yes, absolutely. It's one.
And over the years, a lot of our employees, either seasonal or long term, are cruisers who need to fatten up the cruising kitty. So it's not uncommon for someone to sail into St. Thomas and hang around for a year or two or three or four. I have a former employee who's been in Tahiti and Polynesia for the last 5 or 6 years, but him and his wife worked for us for 4 or 5 seasons building up their cruising kitty before they went through the canal and went west. So and I have two liveaboard couple right now that worked for us for 2 or 3 seasons at the base. One's a mechanical and works in customer service, but there's plenty of opportunity for people who are easing into the cruising lifestyle but aren't quite there financially to work and live in the Caribbean if they want to do it. And that also gets you the health insurance side through VIPCA. Our company happens to offer a group policy because we're a bigger company, but anybody that's working anything even remotely marine related or supporting marine can get insurance on the current set of rules.
So, Kennon, I want to go back to a little bit of the beginning of you and I really getting to talk more about all this. I mean, because we were aware of Vibe. Some of your people had reached out to us about it, looking for some help promoting it. We're happy to do that, for organizations and whatever. And you guys have been so great to work with. It's a fantastic show. We're happy to do it. But when you and I were talking, and I don't want to, I'm going to kind of be the dark horse here, okay? But we were having discussions about, like, people start thinking about chartering and they think about St. Vincent Grenadines, they think about BVI, they think about other places. It's like, why aren't they thinking of the USVI? And you told me you mentioned the government. You mentioned there wasn't enough, Chamber of Commerce promotion or tourism or whatever the case might be. And then we got into the whole discussion on taxes, and you sent me the whole list of, the taxes and the fees and what the BVI is charging people to come there now, and why you had explained to me, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, why don't people just stay in the USVI then?
Mm.
So, but that is actually, those taxes and the BVI is hurting the USVI. I'm trying to
Right.
understand
Well,
how that works.
right. I mean, fundamentally, boats and why we love them are movable. So you can shift your fleets, and a lot of various companies have foots in both doors, and you can shift operations from one side to the other. We're talking, for the purposes of this conversation on the chart, either bareboat or crude charter operations, and um, it's a function of BVI has the name recognition, which we're trying to work on and get USVI more recognized as a cruising ground in and of itself. We had the COVID years, but once BVI opened back up, then Soggy Dollar and Willie T were calling for those that wanted to go do that. And really, I mean, the fundamental crux of the issue was that previously you could pay the license and your customs fees and you went back and forth relatively easily. Now, the goal of the BVI's legislation, which of course they can govern their waters how they want to, was that rather than having boats fuel, dock, clean, turnaround, maintenance, everything on the USVI side, they wanted to incentivize and create a structure by which that moved to the BVI side. So that economic activity went there versus staying in the USVI. And so then if you wanted to keep your operation in the USVI, you were going to have to pay the hefty toll to be able to access both sides.
Okay.
Is that
All right.
fair? Is that fair characterization from?
It's a fair answer to me.
It also, I think one of the misconceptions of the whole thing too, when these fees change, I don't want to get into counting dimes and quarters and talk about it, but I manage yachts for a living, so does Hank. And the yacht industry is driven by owners who buy boats and place them in our care to manage. And it's not a profitable business for most boat owners. It's a combination of tax savings and charter revenue, but you pretty much have to want to own a boat and be working towards this lifestyle. Most of the best owners I've had in my career have been people who had the plans to cruise after they retire, and they use this as a gateway to buy the boat they want while they're still employed. And we manage those boats and we try and take as good a care as we can, and we try and offset as many costs as we can. And when you have these punitive license fees that are thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on a low margin business already, it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. And, there's not a lot of sympathy. I understand that. And yes, the BVI can write whatever laws they want to, but markets change and adapt. And what we're seeing right now is that boats are going to their locations, not just the Caribbean. People in some cases are choosing not to buy boats because of these fees. And the USVI tourists that historically spent thousands and thousands of dollars ashore in the BVI that are now hanging around St. Thomas, St. John's, it's great for the USVI economy, but it has to have an impact on even some of the famous places like Foxy's and Soggy Dollar and all that. I remember when the first time I walked into Foxy's after the COVID shutdown, and talked to Foxy's wife, and they had gone, as successful as that place is, they had gone almost 2 years with no real revenue, and most of their revenue came from day boats from St. John, people on vacation, and then of course the weekend barbecues that they've had historically. But that's the crux of their business. And I think some of these decisions were made arbitrarily without taking into account what the contribution is. For example, our company, and I know Hank has boats too, we haul our boats out at Nanny Key every year, even our St. Thomas-based boats for hurricane season. That's a six-figure bill for the St. Thomas boats that we have. It's got to be higher than that for Hank. He's got more boats than I do. So it's not like we're doing business on the U.S. side in exclusion of the BVI. It's always been kind of a partnership, and everybody washes their own hand. And some of these rules and regulations and fees that were added were done intentionally to disrupt the USVI business and make it move out of USVI to BVI. Fortunately, we've been able to market and change the way we market, just like this article this month in Urals Magazine. We now market the USVI almost as a different destination than the BVI, where it used to be a group destination, because there is so much to do. And now we've had a lot of new waterfront developments. It'd be nice to have a few more, but we have both the Lime Outs now, one in St. John, one in St. Thomas. The current ownership of the Pizza Pie boat at Christmas Cove is doing a spectacular job. Chris Chillers, who's one of the investors in that, is also on the VIPCA board and has been involved, born and raised in the marine industry. So we've seen an uptick in that, and we could still use a few more places, because the only place we really have to take a second seat if we do to BVI is in the number of beach bars. And for some people, that's a critical piece of their vacation. To be honest with you, after you bought your 20th Soggy Dollar t-shirt, you probably don't need another one. And there's plenty of other cool things to see, like the petroglyphs in St. John and the National Park in St. John, and If you've never hiked the lighthouse at Calabria and on Colabrita off of Calabria, I can tell you to bring 3 bottles of water, not 3 beers. But other than that, it's a great trip. Um, there's a ton of other things to see once you get over that bar stool.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. You had mentioned barbecues, and behind you it looks like a pretty impressive barbecue. And with your southern draw, I'm going to bet that you can probably offer a little bit of competition to Foxy on this barbecue weekend. So I'm looking forward to some ribs when I come down there. Hank, why would anybody want to go charter anywhere? I mean, the Seychelles or Tahiti or the USVI, BVI. What's the allure? Why are people doing this? Why are people flocking to it?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that don't even know it exists. Um, you know, rest in peace. Thank God for Jimmy Buffett, because I think he brought on a lot of the, through his music, and then after him is Kenny Chesney and Zach Brown, and so people were into the music. And Kenny talks about chartering and being on a boat and shows videos and things like that. I mean, it's the same reason why people go cruising. It's a but in this fact, they don't have the money to buy their own boat, or they're still working or still actively working, and they find out about this through a lot of word of mouth, and it is the absolute. I can't tell you. I mean, I did 140 charters myself, and I can't tell you how many people left with tears in their eyes of joy, and they found this freedom that they absolutely loved. And it didn't matter if I was taking out 4 couples, or multi-generational families, or just family time getting together, and just seeing the looks in their eyes, and seeing something different besides Mickey Mouse and Minnie, and spending $30,000 at Disney World. Now they're seeing blue water, they're seeing fish, they're doing hikes, they're doing, jumping off these, small cliffs here and there. If they're adventurous, they can kiteboard, they can scuba dive. I mean, chartering has so much to offer. But I think at the end of the day, it's just freedom, and it's the ultimate vacation.
I'm gonna jump in on this because in this latest issue, I wrote a short little recap of our flotilla called Share the Sail and what we did. And Bob Bitchin, who started Latitudes and Attitudes magazine, he started the Share the Sail franchise, right? And he started as sort of and it shouldn't be called a franchise, but the event. And he started it to basically get people to see what living on a boat is like for a week, or maybe dip their toes into the whole live aboard lifestyle experience, charter, whatever. When we took it on, we're getting ready to do our 4th one now in Tahiti next week. We're heading out. We've done Bahamas, Abaco. We did BVI, and we did Mallorca in Spain. And I'm sitting there talking to Kennon. I'm like, why the hell don't we just do the USVI? And he said, why the hell don't you? And so that was the start of that conversation. So we're going to get there on that. But people I know that see what it is that these things are all about, a lot of people I know, they're used to going on cruises with 1,000+ people, and they're standing in line at a freaking pool bar, you know what I mean, waiting for a cocktail, or they're standing in line with screaming kids running everywhere trying to get on a water slide. And meanwhile, we're sitting on this beautiful boat in the middle of paradise, basically just going around. You can sleep if you want, you can read if you want, you can dive if you want, you can snorkel if you want, you can do all the kind of cool stuff, but you're not surrounded by thousands of disease carrying individuals.
Well, until you go to Soggy Dollar, David, let's just be honest about this. I mean, there are thousands of disease carrying individuals potentially at Soggy Dollar.
You just killed
No, please
advertising for
continue.
Soggy Dollar in our magazine.
They never advertised anyway, brother, so we're not going to. No, I want to jump in as well. A lot of people have this perception that when you're going to go on a charter, you're going to be on a sailboat, you're going to be like this for a week, and it's difficult to go to the bathroom. And they think all the negatives. You could fall overboard, the boat could crash, all of this stuff. All the charters that we've done, catamarans, plenty of space, good stability, very clear-cut directions on where to go, what to do, and when to do it. And we don't even, we went on a charter out of Greece, and I didn't know if I was going right or left when I came out of Athens. We finally ended up going right, and we went over to the Egina and some of those islands over there. Sometimes you can do that. Sometimes people are, in particular, planners and all that kind of stuff. But it really is, um, it's like a home at sea. And that was the thing that definitely attracted me to the lifestyle. And that's why we do share the sail. We have 12 boats that are going to be going on our Tahiti share the sail next week. We're just super excited about it. Just introducing this lifestyle to our readers, our cruisers, people who are interested in it.
So everything you say about coming down to the USVI and exploring the particular lifestyle and getting a chance to, dip their toes in the sand. And Hank, to your point, it's like instead of, going through all this crazy hoops and stuff like that to get on a boat, you could be sitting there with a cocktail and at 5 o'clock. You know what I mean? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So might as well be 5 o'clock in USVI.
Right.
And you don't even need a passport.
There you go.
When you go to the USVI, I like that. Kennon, I want to ask you this. I'm involved in a couple different organizations because of another magazine that I publish. And it seems like Vipka is very similar to that. It's a bunch of different companies that are in the marine space all formed together for a legislative voice, for a voice for the marine industry, for advocacy of the business that is involved in VIPCA. So, with that in mind, and you have all these different benefits and so forth, what is the ultimate goal? Is it to run boat shows like Vibe? Is it to make sure that some of the legislative challenges that you're faced with, not just in the USVI, but all the way around the Virgin Islands, are being addressed as a group to have a singular voice? What is the goal of VIPCA?
Yeah, it's really just, I mean, to create and continually improve the charter environment and the marine services environment and the business environment in the USVI. A lot of what we do in the summertime, we have two training programs for local youth to try and get them in the industry to show them that being a life and a career on the water is a path that they can take. We've got one that's a couple weeks for 13 to 17-year-olds that teaches them to swim and sail for a couple weeks in partnership with St. Thomas Yacht Club. And then we've got another 5-week, more intensive apprenticeship program, which ends with the participants coming out with their ASA 101, their STCW, boater safety. They've got a full, 4 weeks, and we partner with both of these guys and their businesses and all the other businesses around the USVI to get them on the water, teach them the basics of, operations, customer service, picking up a mooring, safety, emergency action, all of those things that, are kind of the intro to working on the water. And then we sponsor their Coast Guard credential once they have their time, once they have their sea time. So it's really, it's a better business environment. It's more a better charter infrastructure. It's more people enjoying the USVI, and it's really building the local community and the local support network to ensure that all those things continue over the long term.
So it's not just, hey, everybody come down to the USVI to go on a charter. It's more about how we create the best possible environment for that customer coming down and for the charter companies that are enabling that charter to happen.
Right, absolutely. And be loath to not mention, and on the environmental side, I mean, trying to, educate on best practices when you're out snorkeling, using reef safe sunscreen, trying to be sustainable I mean, we don't want just masses of people everywhere. That then is counterproductive and loses its allure. You want value over volume. And you want, but to do that, you have to have, a network that recognizes that value, stewards it, improves it, maintains it, and ultimately can derive a great experience from it.
So, Jay, how many boats did you guys say you had in service? If you were to estimate how many charters that you guys do in the USVI on an annual basis, what has been your experience over at Waypoints?
So this season we have 21 boats in service. Last year we had 24. So there was a little impact from some of the licensing fees and other factors. Most of our boats do between 17 and 21 weeks a season. The catamarans are a little stronger than the monohulls, but we still have some old school monohulls. And Kennon mentioned earlier about, the cruising lifestyle and giving it a test drive. And we have some smaller monohulls that in the off season might be as inexpensive as $4,000 or $5,000 a week for 6 people. I mean, you can't stay in a Motel 6 in the bad side of town for that in most parts of the U.S. So, July 4th in St. John for Carnival on a $5,000 a week boat is a whole lot more fun than, no offense, Toledo or Cleveland, where my brother's at.
None taken. No, none taken.
Sorry.
None taken. All right, let's move on quickly. Hank, I think Jay does mostly bareboats. You do crude charters?
That's correct. Yeah, all crude charters.
Okay, so I gotta have a skipper. I gotta have a chef on board. Is that the deal?
That's correct. We do have some captain only, but the vast majority of them are a captain and a chef.
And do people prefer, and Jay, maybe you can attest to this as well. What do people prefer? I've had both. I really enjoyed the captain and chef, but I certainly didn't mind doing it myself. I'm at the helm, the wife is downstairs cooking away. Is there a preference? Is it based on price? What's it based on?
I think it's, there's so many variables involved with it. So I think a lot of people enjoy having that captain and chef because they don't have to go through all the planning and seeking out that local knowledge on doing the bareboat part of it. And then you have the other folks like I used to be. I'm working in a corporate life and listening to too much Jimmy Buffett music, and then hey, I want to sell my own boat. So I did it for the first time, and I was bit, man. That was it. I knew I was going to do this for the rest of my life somehow, some way. So it kind of varies. I've had a couple people. I think once you're on one, you kind of stick with it. But I've had some bareboat people. Yeah, I just like doing it myself, and then the wife will end up talking him into, why don't we just get a captain and chef? Because I don't want to be a galley slave and a mooring ball hooker. I want to go ahead and let's let somebody else do that, and they do it, and they have the time of their life. So you can mix it up and do both. It's fun. And I've also had guests that wanted a captain and crew, so they get a crude charter, and then somebody else does a tandem with them on a bareboat. So yeah, I mean, I think there's something here for everybody.
You know what, Hank? In getting to know Kennon, I understand that he's a charter captain. So I'm just going to ask you real quick: is he any good? I mean, you can be honest because nobody's really listening here. So
did he ever make any tips?
Man, this kid he was good. He was really, really good. I was sad to see him. I mean, he still does it from time to time, but like I do. But he went into a little bit of the retirement mode from it. I was sad. I was like, dude, I got a new boat for you. I got something coming in. And he goes, well, I think Vipka's going to be where I'm going to be. I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool because Vipka needs somebody like you. I mean, he's a great leader, and he was one hell of a captain.
Well, I understand also that Kennon, you're getting hitched pretty soon here, right? Short time.
Couple months.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
Everybody ought to get married at least once. I agree.
Time to run.
So on the cover of this latest issue, who are these people, by the way? Did you even tell them that they were going to be in the cover of a globally recognized intergalactic magazine?
I did, and they were thrilled about it. But these are my part future in-laws and part friends and landlords and their folks. We were actually out doing an unpaid model shoot, which was great fun on one of Hank's boats, which is run by coming full circle, a former cruising couple that I met when we were doing our STCW together up in Massachusetts, and they were sailing their boat down, their Albin Nimbus 41, 42 that they bought in Canada. We're sailing it down to the Caribbean. And then I said, because I'm also former cruiser turned, didn't want to get off the water and figured, oh, well, why don't I start making money on the water? And pitched it to them. And then now they're in Hank's fleet on running this boat, Heavenly, that's on the cover. So we went out for a day sail with them so we could be some models for some content.
Because this guy right here, who's hamming it up with the thumbs in the air, I mean, he was totally mugging for the camera. That's I got to party with this guy is what I got to do right
He's
here.
going, and he's a pediatrician also. So Dr. Young can Show you a good time and heal your kids.
You know, in looking at this picture, guys, I just want to mention something real quick. On all the charters that we do, and we do a free charter with the other magazine that I publish, where we call Vacation of a Lifetime. And I might be cursing myself here, but every single time I've gone on a charter, I've gone on charters with people I don't know,
Oh,
strangers, complete strangers, where I meet them at the dock for the first time. And we do that often with Share the Sale as well. Yeah, you're just going to be partnered up with somebody else. There's four cabins, there's four couples you've never met before. Have at it. It always, always, always seems to work out well. We seem to make very good friends, and it's kind of a lifelong journey that you get to take with these people. We went on a charter with somebody in Tahiti 6 years ago, and they've been on 8 charters with us since. It's just a wonderful, wonderful experience of getting to know people like that. Now, we have had incidences, David specifically has had incidences where he's had to um, try to keep people in control on some of our share of the sales, but it always ends up good at the end.
Bill, I heard it said one time that alcohol enhances your personality. But what if you're an asshole? It just
Okay.
doesn't work out well.
So,
Anyway,
is there anything else that we want to close this out with? Is there anything else, gentlemen, that you'd like to address that we have not yet talked about when it comes to VIPCA vibe or the wonders of chartering the USVI?
Well, I just add, like I said, Paradise Yacht Management's the main segment of my business, but we also own and operate a company called Charter Smarter. And we kind of keep all these companies separate, but Charter Smarter is that booking platform that we book boats inside our fleet and outside our fleets. We try to pair off people with the right crew for the personality and the right boat as far as when it comes to crew charter. So we've been doing exceptionally well with that with social media, charter.smarter on Instagram, and it's been a real nice change. We kicked that off after COVID, and been rocking that out. So it's been doing really really well.
Outstanding.
Jay?
Anything in closing, Jay, that you'd like to throw out there?
Just if you haven't spent some time around St. Thomas, St. John, you should do it. Take a look at the webpage for the national park. They have a nautical map that shows where all the mooring locations are, the beaches, and love them or hate them, Rockefeller left most of the beaches to the national park. So we've got some of the most pristine beaches in the world, and it's absolutely worth taking a look at.
You know what? We talk about this every now and then on this podcast. There's no greater industry to really work in than the marine industry. It is absolutely fantastic. A lot of people never leave the marine industry. They just go from company to company or start new companies, or in Kennon's situation, decide to build a company off being on a boat, right? And now look at you, kid. You're all grown up. You're running VIPCA. No, it's great. I really appreciate the time. I appreciate the relationship. It was fantastic to work with you on this most recent issue. I'm really stoked. We just sent the digital link out recently to everybody, and the print version is getting mailed to all of our subscribers. As you know, you've already received yours, so there's a whole lot of copies, and you've got the show coming up in just a few weeks, right? The
Yep.
Vibe show.
Yeah, 1 month exactly, May 14th.
Yep, awesome. So we're very stoked to be working with you guys, and we're real happy to help promote what's going on down there as well as the organization. So thank you very much for the partnership.
Yeah, no, thank you all. And now just to echo everything said here, if you haven't yet, come on down. St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix. St. Croix Pier is probably one of the most fantastic snorkels you can do in all of the Caribbean, bar none. So it's worth the trip, and I hope you take it.
You guys got me hooked on St. Croix. I just have one quick question. Jay, I'm 290 pounds. Do you think I might be able to kiteboard behind a boat like that? Is that going to be
Uh,
possible for a guy my
I,
size?
I don't know. I'm a little over 200, and I suspect that I would think I could do it, and I'd probably break something. So I'm
Okay,
not certain.
okay. Well, I appreciate you putting that content out there,
By the
but
way, that's a fun thing to show that we sell and manage. So I like the boat.
I'm gonna need a bigger kite. I'm gonna need a bigger sail.
I'm afraid we might be 10 or 15 years past our prime for that kite sailing thing.
That's true. That's very true. You're being awfully generous. So, gentlemen, thank you again. I appreciate it. And all the best with the Vibe Show, VIPCA. Hank, again, you're the man. I've known you for a long time, my friend. I really appreciate the relationship that we've had over the years. Jay, thank you so much for jumping in and
Anytime.
contributing to this. David, okay, so we're going to move on now and close this out. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys out on the water.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
My mind is made up. I'm gonna sail away. Latitudes and attitudes will help me find my way.